Hi, today we have my teacher and mentor, Ms. Bird from Davis High School, and we are going to do the interview with her. So at this point, if you can tell us your name, what do you do, and we'll go from the questions from there.
My name is Lindsay Bird, and I'm a high school teacher in a program called the Language Institute. I'm the social science instructor. All of our students are immigrant, refugee, and asylum seeking teenagers that are new to the United States and within the boundaries of our district. We send all of the students of this demographic to one campus so that we can give them levelized instruction so that they can master English and graduate high school.
Yeah, that's really good. One of I think something that I can add to it is that I was part of that program,
Mhm.
and it was a blessing to be that part of that program and have the skills to move on to the next level and
Mhm.
graduate from high school as well. So at this point, what type of services does your program offer?
What we do is we assess our students upon arrival for their linguistic and academic needs and also do an interview regarding any personal and social supports we can provide them and their family. We do have different needs within the demographic of our students. We have students over the years who represented 42 different countries. Our refugee students come with caseworkers through the refugee resettlement agencies, whereas our students who are not coming as refugees don't have those built-in supports. So through our program, we do our very best to get them connected to the social services that exist not only in the school system, but even within the city and within the county. Many of our students, especially our Latino Spanish speaking students, are actually staying not with immediate family, but with a family occasionally they've never even met prior to arriving. And so a lot of the parental support and advocacy that many students have, they don't have. So we like to try to backfill that and give them the support that they need, not only to graduate, but just to integrate into the community. And with an awareness of we can't educate a student who is in need of some basic need in their personal life. So to try to connect them to whatever, whether it be mental health, medical care, financial support sometimes that they need in order to be able to plug into education.
That's great. At this point, are all students cared for equally without considering their cultural characteristics?
Um, we definitely try to care for them equally, knowing that to be equitable, that doesn't necessarily mean equal because some students are going to need more support than others. And so, culturally speaking, we definitely, through getting to know our students, I think as teachers have learned the cultures of our students and how to best accommodate them. But we definitely have a mindset as the staff that we're always learning. And that every student and every family is different, even if they happen to, be from a country or even a part of a country or a cultural group or a religious background that we feel as if we know. We always know that each situation is very different. I will definitely say that because we feel as advocates for our students that there are some gaps that we're not filling, that we could do a better job meeting student needs. That's one reason that we're in the process right now of actually writing a countywide benefit charter school petition, because we feel that we could serve the whole child better, especially students who don't have documentation or are seeking asylum. A lot of the supports in our school system and in our county are dependent on documentation, and so we want to make sure that that those students don't slip through the cracks.
Correct. So at this point, what are the particular needs of Hispanic Latino students that you face on this program?
I would say we definitely do the best that we can to get students plugged in to the counseling they need. And at this moment in time, one of our biggest frustrations is in our school system. We feel that if students have the need for counseling, it needs to be done in their primary language, considering that our students are brand new to the country. What we've noticed, just culturally speaking, when we compare different groups, is that our Spanish speakers, our Latino students, are very willing to share their story with us, to actually reach out for help, which is wonderful that they're willing to do so. So as educators, it's frustrating when we don't have access to the services they need because it's not available in their primary language or because they don't have insurance. And so that's a need I think that we need to fill. If we compare that to, like, for example, the refugee population that we serve, we know they also have mental health needs, but culturally speaking, they don't believe in mental health. So even though they have access to it because of the way that they came, they don't plug into it for cultural beliefs, where we have this huge group of students who are not only aware of mental health, but actually reaching out and asking for it, and we can't plug them in. So considering that the Central Valley of California has such a significant Spanish-speaking and immigrant population, we know there are services out there. That's why we want to take this program outside the box. It's keeping us from plugging our students into what already exists.
Okay. So at this point, you emphasize more in the emotional need that they need once they
Yes.
come to the United States and they're starting to go to school. And then you mentioned also how they live with families that they never met.
Exactly. And I think that's probably the biggest ask our students have is not only the trauma of that family separation. I mean, assuming that they're staying with someone who welcomes them with open arms, still being away from, your immediate family is traumatizing enough. But what we found over and over again is we feel like there's usually, when the students arrive here, there's a little bit of a honeymoon period for a few months where the family who's welcomed them in, there's no problems. But then, there's a lot of unspoken expectations of what our students should contribute to the family. They often feel like they're being used because they have to do more chores to earn the right to stay there than maybe the biological children of the family members they stay with. And it's just a lot, in addition to being in a new country, learning a new language, trying to graduate high school, dealing with being separated from your family, and then the dynamics of basically trying to live with people who often are ultimately strangers, even though they're often, an aunt or a cousin. There hasn't been a real relationship there. So there's a huge need for family support that I feel like we're missing out on at this time.
Okay, I totally understand. And then with the educational area, what do you think are the needs?
We have a lot of variety, and we see this of all of the cultures where, for some students, when they arrive, they're very well educated in their primary language. They've had access to fabulous schools. And for those students, what we need to give them is accelerated English and access to rigorous courses so they can continue on the path of excellence that they already started in their country. And then we have students from all over the world who, when they arrive, haven't had the benefit of a quality education in their country. And, not always, but typically it's similar to what we see here in the United States. The larger the city, the more urban area, usually the more access to quality education. And if the student happens to come from a more rural area, then there tends to be gaps. So that's something that our program has adjusted to accommodate over the years, because originally when we designed it, we thought we would just be teaching students English in order to get them to graduate. What we hadn't anticipated was the fact that to really serve all of our students, we not only needed to teach them English, but we had to recognize that just because they were 15 years old, we couldn't assume that they came with the skills that you would assume a 15-year-old would have. And so we need to do both, give them the language that they need to graduate, but also backfill those foundational skills in the various content areas. So we need to build a program that serves both extremes, the undereducated and the rigor that the students that come with high aspirations deserve. So that's why we place our students not by grade or age level, what we call tiers, so that we can give a beginner student, if they need to learn the Roman alphabet, we will start there. Yeah. And then if a student arrives with, a really solid education, of course, we could start them at a higher level so that we're not wasting anybody's time.
Okay. Do you think the program comprehends or considers the cultural needs of your students?
We definitely consider it. And like I mentioned before, we're always trying to learn. We definitely know that in order to meet the cultural needs of our students that we need community partners. So, for example, we have really great relationships with El Concilio, a local nonprofit that does outreach within the Spanish-speaking community, with our refugee resettlement agencies, through county behavioral health, who keeps us aware of what resources are out there for our students to plug into. And also, we love to hear about other schools that are serving a similar demographic to get ideas of how they better serve their students, which again has kind of led us down that path of doing the charter school, because in the Central Valley of California, sometimes the power structure and the politics are different. And we are only, less than an hour away from the Bay Area. We've traveled to International High School in Oakland and in San Francisco, and we see all of the fabulous ways that they're supporting their students beyond the classroom. And we know that we can do better. And so we want to definitely make sure that we learn from them, and that we try to take some of the supports that they have, especially for their asylum seeking students. I think that's a deficiency that we have, is we don't have as many resources and advocacy for those students who are often here, with alone. And so learning from San Francisco and Oakland and trying to build a program that mirrors, not only the supports they have, but the proven success, the success that once you meet those social and personal needs of the students, the academics follows. So that's a goal of ours, is to do better.
Thank you. And at this point, how can the service be better for the Hispanic students?
At this point, we can do better in many ways, not just the social services that I mentioned, but it's law that in California that if you have more than 30% of a primary language spoken at home, that everything be translated into that language, just to guarantee access for guardians to understand. And unfortunately, our school district is still struggling with that minimal obligation, which again is leading us to think outside of the box, because we know that often in education, communication with the family about what they need is paramount. There's no book that I can read or no school that I can visit that's going to tell me what my students need more than them telling me, in the first person. So if we're not even communicating with them effectively about opportunities to tell us what they need, to attend meetings, to meet the teachers, to go to back to school nights, then we're failing on our most fundamental obligation of welcoming these families into our community. So we've been, for lack of a better word, fighting that battle for a decade now. Our program opened in 2009. We've got as far as to have lawyers sue the school district for things such as the requirements our students need for vaccinations. If those requirements aren't met, they get excluded from school, and our school was only providing them in English. Okay. So students were being denied access to education based on lack of translation. And even though we've had to fight all these legal battles, we are still facing those barriers. So the school that we're building isn't slated to open until August of 2020. So in the meantime, we'll continue to fight the battles, because we do believe that reaching out to families in their primary language, especially Spanish, because it's such a huge chunk of our demographic. Again, we're legally obligated to do so. So we'll fight to have that happen, but we're also very excited to have a school where we don't have to spend our time and energy fighting those battles, that it's just a culturally accepted common knowledge that in order to educate and integrate families, you need to communicate with them in their primary language.
Yeah, I think that's a big factor when, for example, if your mom or your guardian asks how are you doing in school, and then they receive grades and they're like trying to know what's going on, or right, why are you going home after your 7th period, and that type of stuff. So I think it's really good that we are fighting this battle, and it's been 10 years, but you opening this new school is going to facilitate your own rules for the program and to benefit the students, which is the main thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we know there's so much more that we need to do to better serve our students. And what's been happening is us educators have been having to put our extra time and efforts away, outside of the classroom and away from our families into fighting these political battles. We look forward to the day where we have a school where we don't, like, all of that extra time and energy can pour into the things that we can do to directly make our students' lives and education better, rather than fighting these local cultural barriers, because they really are. It is a local problem. It's not statewide. It's something that we hope our school opening, not only will it help the students who attend our schools, but we hope that it puts the traditional public schools on notice that now we've provided these families an option and you need to do better by them, because if you don't, they could leave.
Yeah. I just want to thank you for your time and for the even though it's your day off, you're still doing this presentation with me. At this point, what is it that you love about the program? And tell us a little bit how you started with the program and where the things that got better from, because you say it's been almost 10 years.
Yeah, it is. It's our 10-year anniversary. We opened in August of 2009. I absolutely love the program because I feel like it's just really the essence of the American dream. I mean, it's not just giving the students the pathway to become who they hope to be. It's really opening up students' hearts and minds as to what's possible. A lot of our students, I think that the common denominator between the majority of our students, regardless of what country they've come from, is they've experienced great trauma. And to introduce education and opportunity as a way to heal and to not only make their own life better, but their entire family, is just something that has been a true blessing to all of the teachers. And our students and their accomplishments have made us proud beyond our wildest dreams. So, we just want to keep that going forward. We feel like, especially now, obviously this program being around for 10 years, not only the local politics, but the national politics have shifted. And what our students have always stood for is proof that if you invest in quality education for these students, not equal education, because they don't have the same needs as their native born peers, but if you listen to who they are and what they need and you provide them that support for equity of outcome, that they defy all of those stereotypes that are being, thrown around about, what's possible for these students. And so we love that our program doesn't just provide our students a better life, but it also provides a different narrative of, what an immigrant or a refugee or asylum seeker has to contribute to this country. And so that's why we love to shamelessly celebrate the successes of our students, because they deserve it. But we also really want to prove to everybody how worthy and valuable and how lucky we are to have these families in our community.
I think you do a really good job.
Thank you.
And just want to thank the Language Institute program for being part of my life, and thanks for taking the time to
anytime.
Questions today.
Looking forward to flying out for your graduation.